Okay, I think we will go ahead and get started for the May 14th Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. Roll call, please.
Monica Isham is excused. Julia Lyons.
Here.
Grant Gerber. Mike Markran.
Here.
Mike Weller.
Here.
Tweed Schuman. Doug Morotek.
Here.
Bruce Poquette. Katie Bellinger.
Here.
John Yackel. Mark Helwig.
Here.
Elaine Smith.
Here.
Marshall Savitsky.
Here.
Kathy McCoy. Bill Trepanier. You have a quorum.
Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Could we have the certification of compliance?
This meeting was noticed to the media and the public as required by Section 19.84 of Wisconsin statutes.
And moving on to meeting agenda, are there any changes? Okay, hearing none. Public comment. And I don't see anybody. Is there anybody online? Okay. Moving on to the minutes from the previous meeting. Everybody have a chance to review?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of 4/9/25.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, we will be moving on to a presentation for sexual assault response. And Mary Slichchuka is going to present for us today.
A full screen, Jess?
Can we close the
Hello,
participants
everyone.
maybe?
We don't have any Zoom participants, or do we? Okay, then I'll.
We can maybe take the,
My name is Mary Slichchuka. I'm with
oh, you're going to have a mic because we're recording.
Got it here. All right.
She's got
got
a
it.
mic on.
Got this one, Liz. Thank you. Yep. All right. So my name is Mary Slichchuka. I work for Sawyer County Public Health, Washburn County Public Health, and in addition to that, I work for St. Croix Valley SART. Next slide. St. Croix Valley SART is a nonprofit organization. We do forensic nursing, and we see people locally. We see them in Barron, Rusk, Polk. That's some of our local hospitals. We also have an office in Rice Lake, another one in Hudson. So we kind of are in Northwest Wisconsin area covering that section. I've been doing that since 2021. I've seen 25 now adult adolescent cases and 5 pediatrics. I also had the Training Institute of Strangulation Prevention at a 4-day course in Hennepin County, and I was able to see, get real good training from the experts on non-fatal and near-fatal strangulation. Next slide. Some of this information I'm going to talk to you about today is pretty sensitive. Please take care of yourself. If you need to step out of the room, close your eyes. I understand. Next slide. The best way to teach you about strangulation is to show you the experts that trained me. So we'll have a little 8-minute video here from Casey and Gail, who were the ones that taught me my strangulation.
Hi, I'm Casey Gwynn, the president of Alliance for Hope International and the co-founder of the Training Institute on Strangulation Prevention.
Over the last 10 years, we've been diving deeper and deeper into understanding what's going on when you hear a woman say, "He choked me," in a domestic violence situation, maybe even in a sexual assault or a child abuse situation, but you hear those words, "He choked me." When I was a prosecutor, those words didn't mean much to me. And if I got a case that said he choked me, I'd look at the victim's neck. If there were no visible injuries, it didn't matter to me. Today, we know that when you hear "he choked me," that perpetrator, which is almost always a man, has just raised his hand and said, "I'm a killer." Those words, "he choked me," should be the biggest red flag for law enforcement officers. And if he's not already a killer, what he's telling her is that he's willing to kill her.
If a victim is strangled one time, she's 750% more likely to be killed.
That figure is now 1,000.
The last warning shot. At least 50% of the time, victims will be strangled before they are killed.
The cop killers of America are the stranglers of domestic violence relationships. In 2017, the Training Institute on Strangulation Prevention conducted our first analysis for a whole year of law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty in the United States. And we identified 44 officers killed in intentional homicides. And our research findings, we found that 75% of the cop killers in America in 2017 were men with a history of domestic violence. And when we dug deeper in each of those cases, when we looked deeper, and sometimes we did look at criminal history records after the internet search, we found strangulation assault and strangulation assault and strangulation assault.
Strangulation is one of the most lethal forms of domestic violence. You can cause someone to pass out in seconds, and death can occur within minutes.
In strangulation cases, it's the first responder that's really going to make and break our cases. If we're going to rely on follow-up by a detective days later, we are going to fail most of the time, because we know most of our abuse victims are calling us when they're at the peak of their fear. We have to be able to go on scene, look very much at this case like a DUI case. In these types of cases, you know, when the girlfriend says, "My boyfriend strangled me," or "choked me," that is our odor of alcohol. That's where we say to ourselves, I've got to ask a lot of questions. If you miss that opportunity to talk to your victim at that time at the scene, you're going to lose a major opportunity to make this case a solid case.
What officers should understand is that you can be strangled, even fatally, and have no marks. So if the officer is only looking for evidence of trauma to the face or the neck, they may miss a felony strangulation. They may even miss an attempted murder.
Strangulation is a form of asphyxia characterized by closure of the blood vessels and/or air passages of the neck as a result of external pressure on the neck.
What they should look for is evidence of marks, bruising to the neck, but remember that bruises may not show up for 24 hours. Have the victim expose their neck. Have them look in their eyes, have them pull their lids down, say, "Ma'am, would you mind pulling your lids down?" And look left, look right, look up, look down.
What you're seeing in this digital animation is pressure being applied to the neck. Once pressure is applied to the neck, the first impact is on the jugular veins. The jugular veins take deoxygenated blood from the brain back down to the heart. As pressure continues to be applied to the jugulars, you'll see that the carotid arteries are still pumping good blood to the brain, but nothing's coming back down again. That produces those small red spots you see in the image called petechiae. Those small hemorrhages are evidence of anoxic brain injury and a result of increased pressure in the brain because blood is going to the brain, but it's not coming back because of the pressure of a chokehold.
Patrol officers have a form that they are to use for strangulation or what they might suspect as strangulation cases that asks a series of questions that will help us in the DA's office determine what's an appropriate charge to file.
When a victim has been strangled, she has suffered a loss of oxygen to the brain. That may make her appear different to you. She may appear to be under the influence of drugs and or alcohol. She may appear to be combative and hostile. She may appear to be uncooperative. Her story may be all jumbled up. But in reality, these are signs of loss of consciousness to the brain. She's also traumatized, so everything can be all mixed up.
So if a victim does not want to seek medical treatment there, after your investigation, I think it's really important to leave the victim with an information sheet that will describe symptoms of strangulation, current symptoms and delayed symptoms as well, so that they have a full understanding and they can refer to this.
I've talked to thousands of victims who have been strangled, and they all say the same thing. Strangulation is one of the most terrifying acts of violence they have ever experienced, and they will never forget it. They experience 4 stages. The first one is denial. They just can't believe that the person they love is actually trying to kill them. And then they go into the second phase, which is realization. They realize that this is happening. The third phase is primal, because that last breath, the thought of dying, causes them to fight for their lives. They can't fight it. And last but not least, when they realize that they can't overpower them, they can't break free, they end up going into resignation. Some of them will even give up, but it's also the brain being impacted by a lack of oxygen.
Many victims that I've worked with do not always identify strangulation immediately as a part of the assault. They may be initially focused on other issues or other things that occurred and not recognize the seriousness of the strangulation that has occurred.
We are realizing that strangulation is not only a felony, but it also may be an attempted homicide. If you see a case where ligature is used, I would consider an attempted homicide. There is no other reason to put a ligature around someone's neck unless you intend to kill them. If your case includes urination or defecation, I would consider an attempted homicide case, along with death threats, along with repeated manual strangulation and or ligature.
When you leave here and roll out onto the streets, take one thing with you. You're the difference maker. You're the person that controls what you do at that scene, how little or how much.
When you turn a domestic violence strangulation case from a misdemeanor into a felony, you're actually increasing the likelihood that she's going to stay alive. And you're increasing the likelihood that a police officer is not going to die 5 years from now at the hands of a strangler. You're actually saving people's lives by taking the time to turn a strangulation case from a misdemeanor into a felony.
So this is some of our symptoms and signs we see in strangulation. I did put that in your folders. It's on the left-hand side. The strangulation case I saw too, the girl said, well, yeah, I have a headache, but I always do. I have a sore throat, but I, maybe have a cold. So they will take that strangulation down and they'll minimize it right there. She allowed me to do a strangulation assessment, which was great. And I did get prepped by the district attorney, and I did find petechia in the roof of her mouth. That's something the law enforcement officers wouldn't have seen in the field. The girl also said she never said she couldn't breathe. Next slide. Dr. Rebecca Campbell is an expert on the neurobiology of trauma. When I was prepped by a district attorney, bless you, he said the defense is going to push you on her reaction. What was her reaction? Why wasn't she crying? Why wasn't she hollering? I said, well, of course, it's the neurobiology of trauma. He said, what? So that's where us nurses, we can help any prosecutors in these cases by just giving you that little bit of information, how we don't see that in victims. We see fight, we see flight, we also see freeze. Dr. Rebecca Campbell goes over that real good in some of her training. If we had more time, we could do some, but not today. This is a sheet that shows you the time for a strangulation to death. As she talked about, once pressure is applied, within 6 seconds, we can go unconscious. Anoxic seizure in 14 seconds, loss of bladder, loss of bowel. And as you see in the video, if you hear loss of bladder, loss of bowel, that's where we are that near death. Next slide. So the Wisconsin statutes, that is that important piece right there. Anybody that intentionally impedes the normal breathing or circulation. So you're not going to hear the victim say when they choke, well, I could still breathe, they were still talking, things like that. But it's that circulation of blood that our officers aren't going to see, that you really need that strangulation assessment in order to get that head-to-toe assessment and see what's going on. Next one. So, as Casey said, he did an article, A Dangerous Link from Stranglers to Cop Killers. At that time, they did a bunch of research. 75% out of all the officers killed in the line of duty were men with a history of domestic violence. That was my first day of the strangulation course, was seeing officer after officer killed by perpetrators. Next slide. In our area, it's 100%. Deputy Dan Glaze, 3rd and 4th degree sexual assault, was the perpetrators. Convictions, Officer Emily Breidenbeck and Hunter Scheel. History of domestic violence, stalking, harassing. Deputy Katie Leasing, kidnapping, criminal sexual assault. There's all those opportunities we had to stop what occurred. Next slide. And one more time with Casey.
For many years, we didn't realize what strangulation was. We would see it over and over in police reports. We would hear victims say over and over, choking, choking, choking. He grabbed me, he choked me. Didn't mean anything to us. And we certainly didn't understand how lethal it was. But as we started to get into it and started to deal with the medical experts and put them on a witness stand and started hearing the actual accounting of what was going on, and then had research to back it up, we found out that choking wasn't down here. Choking was right here, and a homicide was right here. And suddenly, choking is strangulation, and now we realize if you're at strangulation, you're at death. You're right on the edge of murder. If you're going to do strangulation cases, you should be foaming at the mouth in a courtroom when it comes to this crime. You should be so outraged and so upset and so angry about how this serious, felonious criminal has gotten away with attempted murder over and over, perhaps, in that relationship. Because if you're not that way, nobody else will be.
You just want to become a lawyer, things like that. Okay, next slide. Our domestic violence perpetrators, got it, have been linked to Mass murderers, workplace shooters, school shooters, terrorists, all of these perpetrators right here, Colorado Springs, Pulse nightclub, Las Vegas shooting have all been linked to domestic violence and strangulation. Next slide. We'll go to the video. Our last video. Thanks for bearing with us. Here's some of the injuries that we can see during a strangulation. That right there, you're looking at a carotid artery dissection, ligature strangulation. We try to push doctors to order a CTA of the neck. This girl, he came up from behind me, put his arm around me. She's sitting in the doctor's office now. She thought she was going to have her head pulled off. She looked fine, felt fine, had no symptoms. There's that battle sign right there behind the ears. Bilateral carotid artery dissection. Back to that 11 pounds of pressure. Both sides, where the blood was coming up, could not. There's some of the symptoms that we see in these cases. We're going to try and educate some of our providers to use a CTA, and our law enforcement officers to push that with the providers too in a choking incident. This was given out to our deputies when we had the training. Right there, Jess. And you can go back to the slides. What she says there is the patrol officer believed me. Whoops, one back. The detective encouraged me. The nurse warned me. The doctor ordered a CTA. The prosecutor fought for me, the advocate helped me, the judge held my strangler accountable, and the probation officer wasn't manipulated. That right there is the multidisciplinary team we need sitting on strangulation cases, so everybody can share the information we all have. Next slide. What are we doing here? We started again, the Sawyer County, LCO Sawyer County Sexual Assault Response Team. We started back in April of last year. We meet once a month. Out of this meeting so far, we understood that we were sending law enforcement officers to Duluth if the nurse wasn't available, when they had resources in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, Ladysmith, things like that. So just by us talking, we now know that our nurse retired at the hospital. The hospital knows they need to train more. They're training 5 people, I believe. And we also have LCO Health Center. They're developing a same program too. We want to keep our people here, have advocates for these victims, and get them local. Next slide. What can you do? Don't minimize this whatsoever. If you hear choke, please think of everything I've told you about those links today. I'm also on a fire department, and I was at a helicopter site when that guy in Exlin had the all SWATs coming in, and that's where my mind goes right here. I hope to God all these officers are okay, because it started off with some sort of domestic. Remember those links. Use the experts. Call me anytime if you want to know anything. I can get you either resources, I can connect you. There's women that I work with St. Croix Valley Sexual Assault Nursing. They've worked for many, many years. They would gladly sit and give expert testimony to anybody who needed it. Remember with strangulation, if you hear choke, think strangulation. Use that multidisciplinary approach. Choke is something you do on food. Strangulation is pressure on the neck. And then use the evidence-based resources. Next slide. And thank you for everything you do to keep us safe. And thanks for listening today. I hope I didn't go too far past my time. Next slide. There's some resources available too. If anybody would like my information, I have my card in there. And if you'd like the slides, you can also email me. Let me know. I'll get those to you. Yeah, the LCO Sawyer County Sexual Assault Response Team, our next meeting information is in there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Does anybody have any questions? hold on a moment, Mary. No? Yes? Okay. Patrol already received training early this year, so our plan is just trying to get this information out to as many people as possible to make sure that we have advocates and are moving in the right directions. Okay. Next on our agenda, we had talked about creating an executive committee and potentially a data committee for the CJCC. We didn't have that on last week we did not finish those discussions. We decided that at this meeting, we should come up with an executive committee. That executive committee can then identify those that would be on a data committee. We'd probably be looking for 5 people to be on an executive committee. And probably would be good to have people from kind of across. And I know, Judge, you're interested.
Can you give us an idea of
What that is?
they would be doing? Yeah.
So,
What it would entail?
So actually, when Judge Smith and we actually went to training on CJCCs, and one of the things that we identified is needing to really look at our bylaws, reviewing those, our mission and vision statements, and comparing everything to what is best practice now, and making sure that we are kind of moving forward in that, and also starting to thinking about strategy. And many of the CJCCs that were high functioning had 3 to 4 work groups that actually brought the data into the work group. We don't have a CJCC coordinator. Many times that coordinator will help get some of that information together too. So I think the executive committee we would be starting with some of that goal planning and looking at those pieces. Anything else, Judge, that you can think of? Okay. So I can sit on as being one of the chairs because I'm not sure that Judge Isham has the time. So I will sit on that okay, great. Anybody from law enforcement? No? You? Are you taking down names for us, Liz? You got everybody? Yeah. I know, don't you?
I just have you and Judge Smith right now. Was there? Okay.
Kathy.
Do you need you looking for 5 numbers?
No, I think that we could even get started with this and then determine who we're missing and then request more further on so that we're.
You just gotta know by May 16th.
What are you looking at? Oh, that's something else. Yeah, so we can start with that, and maybe it'll be easier probably to find a time to meet with 3 people, and then we'll work on having a regular, and then determine if we need to add more people. Does that sound okay? Okay. Okay. We'll work on that. Okay. And we probably, so from there, we need to then, we've got this group, we do need to make action on that. So on the 4 people being a part of the executive committee.
I'd make them,
With the potential to add more in the future.
I'd
What-
make a motion that we form a executive committee initially consisting of 4 individuals, Julia Lyons, Elaine Smith, Mark, did you volunteer too?
No.
No, okay.
Kathy?
Paquette and Kathy McCoy.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? Oh,
I did.
I think the discussion was with option of adding. Initially starting, okay, sounds good. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Those, any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I don't, well, I'm looking to you for number 10, the Sawyer County LCO CJCC MOU. Have you heard anything?
We have not received that back yet.
Okay,
It was sent about 3 weeks ago.
okay. And, oh, can you just,
Yeah. Thank you. I've asked about it, but that was about it was before my surgery,
Yeah.
so 4 weeks ago. And I was just not given a clear answer, but that was something that they wanted to get done. And I haven't seen anybody since then. I just returned to work yesterday on a part-time basis for 2 weeks, but I haven't seen anybody.
Okay.
So I can try to reach out and try to find out what's going on.
see where we're at with that. Thank you. Okay, anything further on this? Hearing none, we will move on to the jail report.
Thank you. The April 25 jail report, we see an average daily population of 59 inmates, 15 of those being females, 44 to males. Average probation incarceration was at 18. Pre-sentence incarceration was at 28, and sentence incarceration was at 13. We currently have 4 on electronic monitoring. We had 54 inmates the day that this population report was generated, with a 78% unemployment rate in the jail.
Any questions or follow-up? Oh, you're not on, Kathy. There you go.
Okay, so to be employed, I know this is a continual problem, that what criteria has to be met to be let out to be employed in terms of?
There's actually, you gotta workman's comp insurance. There's a 32-hour-a-week minimum criteria you have to meet. Urinalysis, you have to be authorized, you were authorized from the courts when you're sentenced, you have to be sentenced. Those are just a few things off the top of my head.
So how many people that are currently incarcerated are eligible actually to be employed?
I'm not sure of that number.
I guess what I'm getting at is, are we the cart before the horse, or vice versa? I mean, if they don't have these things in place, then is there an incentive, or how can they become employed? You see what I'm kind of saying? I mean,
They're able to search for employment while incarcerated.
Okay.
Currently, we have one inmate that is currently being hired by a local business in town, so.
and if they do that, then they can come back and you guys can put all the criteria that's needed
Correct.
in
Yep.
place for that person, in other words.
Yep.
The one thing I want to add to, Kathy, is, and you bring up a very good question, and there may not be total clarity with this, but the unemployment numbers we have there, that is at the time they're booked in. We do like a survey to find out how many are at the time they're incarcerated or brought in on a custody issue, on whether they're employed or not. And I think your question is relative to what does it take for the second phase to get them employed? And that's where working with Justice Point in our programming, we are trying to change those numbers to try to achieve 100% of getting our inmates employed so they're productive members of the community and that they stay out of jail. Because if we can keep people working and involved, whether it's family, community, otherwise, they're just less likely to reoffend.
No, thank you for that clarification, because I didn't understand it. So there's two different things. I think other people didn't either. There's two different things. This is when they are actually booked into the jail.
Correct.
So would we have a statistic in terms of the current population that is actually physically in the jail in terms of unemployment rate? Because there are two different numbers, obviously, right?
And there is two different numbers, and we don't have that data, and we can pursue that. But, one of the things that we deal with is you can't make people work.
No.
And oftentimes, they would rather just spend their time and not work, because we do everything we can. And right now, our Huber program, We don't have a Huber program. Everybody's out on electronic monitor after they're eligible for work release. And there is some accountability and process to get there, because it's not like there's no consequences or there's not a process to get them there. But we do our best to try to get people there so that they can be out on electronic monitoring and be where they should be.
Well, it would be good if we could have some kind of, because I mean, that could be very positive in terms of, if we have a 78% that's going in, and actually in-house, we only have a 68% or whatever, it'd be nice to know the differential between those two numbers. And I know you guys do everything that you can. I mean, I'm not saying you don't, but I didn't realize that until you just told me, so I appreciate the information.
Not that statistics are my thing, but you also have to be aware of who's available to actually go out to work, because if you look at the screen, you have the first category of folks that are there on probation, either hold or sanction. They can't go to work, am I right? They're not allowed out.
Correct.
Then the second one, pre-sentence incarceration, those folks are there just sitting on a bond. So it doesn't matter if they're employed or not, they're not going anywhere. So the only folks that we were talking about was those last 13.
13, yeah.
Yeah, so when you're saying, well, we have 87% unemployment rate.
That really is not really.
It could be
Right.
7 people or
Yeah.
8 people. So you just have to be careful about the numbers that you use and what we're actually talking about. So when you ask, go ahead.
4 out of those 13 people are out to work.
See, so our numbers, that makes it sound a lot better
Okay.
than 78. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, go ahead, Judge.
I was wondering what the policy is on, say, somebody's arrested and they've been diagnosed with schizophrenia and they're taking medication and then they're picked up for whatever reason. What is the policy on them continuing to take their medication?
All medications have to go through our jail physician.
Okay, so what does that mean? What do they have to do?
They would bring their medications in with them or have somebody bring them in. Jail staff would verify those medications and call the jail physician with what we have, and she would either approve or deny those medications.
But just to add to that, I don't believe there's ever or seldom is an issue of not being able to continue on their meds.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it's all case by case, so.
Yep.
I mean, if we come in, if counts are off or if labels are off bottles, our physicians likely not to continue. But if everything's in place, I would say most medications stay continued, so.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
When it comes to the mental health, and we have counselors that are there 8 hours a week, I mean, we want to do our best to keep that balance.
Yeah, it can be dangerous when they're not on their medication.
Yes,
When they're
yep.
released.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Justice Point, Becky Berry.
I gave everybody, well, I handed out an update. I apologize that it's not pretty. Nikki, my supervisor, is the one who usually does that, and she didn't do it for me this month. I'll start at the top. Our staffing, if you notice, I highlighted, we are down a coordinator. I believe we will be posting something, but we're going to address that later this week. Our program numbers, statistically, at pretrial right now, we're at 113 people. We have 5 people on our wait list. All of those people are incarcerated. They will remain on our wait list until they are released. Some of those people are in prison, so they may remain on there for a while. Diversion, we have 11 active. We have 19 referrals pending. 1 is pending termination. Recovery court, 8 active. 1 was terminated last month. As far as trainings go, All Rise is this month. We're not sure if we're going to send somebody, so that's also kind of in limbo. Deflection is going very, very well. Our navigators are doing an insane amount of community legwork. So if anybody's seen them out and about, they're doing tabling, they're just doing community contacts. They're working very, very closely with law enforcement, ride-alongs, overdose prevention, handouts. It's going really, really well. Huge thanks to law enforcement for working with them and riding along with them. We're doing a presentation with the Housing Authority on June 12th. We're trying to do as many sober events, so if anybody has any ideas for us, we'll take that. Ideas, we're still looking for donations. Post-release, we're still working on that. I have to get with Lieutenant to get that link downloaded on Relias. I haven't done that yet, so that's in the works. Reaching Rural, we lost our funding, April 22nd. I have a letter, if anybody or everybody is willing to sign, to try to get, at least support to get funding reinstated, but that was one of the funding sources that was cut. We also lost our potential funding for building bridges, so if we could also do the same thing for that, that would be good. Our funding for building bridges was as high as $250,000. We put a tremendous amount of work into both of those initiatives. So we were already instated for the $100,000. We hadn't hired anybody, so we're not really out anything other than all the work that we put in. Same thing with building bridges. So frustrating, but I am hoping that we'll have other opportunities, and again, I would hope that we can sign this letter in support of reinstating something. So I'll pass this around, sign it if you will.
Can I also make a motion that we recommend that the county board present a resolution on this matter, and that it be, if it's approved by the county board, that it be sent to our representatives and on record, basically.
Okay.
I second that motion, if that is a motion.
It's a motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Yes, it's a lot of money to lose.
And a lot of opportunity. I mean, we put a ton of work, and there's a lot of opportunity for our community participants and people that want to work toward betterment of their lives. So as far as we don't know anything about COSUP, I'm guessing eventually it'll come out, but we haven't heard anything. I don't know if you've heard anything, Julia?
Anything either, no.
Okay. Jail program updates. We had a new program implementation started April 12th. It's going wonderfully for Ojibwe language and culture, and our participants are really liking that. We have had 8 GED completions for the school year to date. We have, this is exciting, the first time ever in-person graduations, which will be at UW Eau Claire Barron campus, May 16th at 7 p.m. And then I've just listed below there all of the current programs that we're running. I also attached on the back, I emailed a lot of you about a true color or a real colors training that Justice Point is hosting, and it's an open invitation. So if anybody is interested, I have had some people respond that they are interested in joining. So please share it. Let me know by Friday if you or staff or anybody wants to join us. I have also other, if you want to take and pass out. Any questions?
Any follow-up for Becky? Thank you, Becky.
Okay, I'm going to put these on the table, so if anybody wants to take any.
Next up is youth diversion, youth justice. Sarah is actually doing some forensic interviewing and must be a longer interview, so I'll try to punt here a little bit. We have gotten started with Serona Recovery on working with our youth, kind of some intensive in-home things for the families. So that is just getting started. And we have hired the diversion worker, who will be starting at the beginning of June. We are pulling somebody from the school district, and we're very excited about this person and willing to wait because you need to have the right person in that role for truancy and diversion. So that will be started in June. We are doing some work with the truancy, just looking at all of the 10-day drops that are out there. So we're at least kind of working through some of that, starting to connect families to resources. The other thing that we're doing is working with LCO on a campaign to be able to to show the importance of going to school, help to engage the kids in wanting to be in school, help the parents have the right talking points and communication for getting the kids to school, and really getting the teachers excited for when school starts again, because people get burnt out and some of these situations are very difficult. And those prevent kids from wanting to be in school then. So I'm really looking forward to getting those things done, and have seen some of the work already. And so this like summertime, close to school, we'll be able to see some of that work, and we'll probably have a big community event, back to school event, to really get the whole community out and really around the importance of education. So we're excited for that work, and we'll be bringing things forward so everybody knows about it. Any questions related to that? Okay, Health and Human Services. Joyce, you want to report?
Yep, I'll make it quick. So as you probably know, nationally, the funding was pulled for AmeriCorps, and that's where we had our peer recovery specialists hired through. So we are working right now on maintaining one peer specialist on a part-time basis, contingent on some local funding that we're looking at. Next month, I will be giving you a presentation on the jail surveys that I completed, and it's really interesting. Also, costs are up due to tariffs, so the vaping education things that we were going to be handing out at Muskie Fest, we're still doing that, but just a lot less because of those increased costs. They were significant. As I told you last month, as part of the vaping initiative, we ran a billboard contest in Hayward and Winter schools. LCO school was doing their own contest. So we ran a vaping billboard contest, and we've chosen the winners this morning. I'm not going to announce them because they don't know yet. But next month, I will also bring you those designs that the students submitted. Finally, drug take-back. For Drug Take-Back Day, the Sheriff's Office received 135 pounds of medications. Hayward PD received 76.74 pounds. And unfortunately, LCO was not able to do Drug Take-Back Day due to some unforeseen circumstances. But still, that's a significant amount of medications to come in. One of the things that Jess had an idea for that ended up being a real barn buster was to have Meals on Wheels collect medications from people that they were delivering food to. And that went over very, very well. So kudos to Jess.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Mary is handing out Narcan. She's the person that's doing the Narcan at the food shelf, and actually had somebody come and tell her last week that the Narcan that she got from the food shelf actually saved somebody's life. So that's always nice to hear. But any questions? All right.
Okay, I just have one small follow-up. Joyce, I'm glad you said that because I had that on. Mary just told me that today about the saved lives, so that's awesome. As far as opioid settlement and where we are with AmeriCorps, we had already put $16,000 in there for peer recovery coaches. So we're just turning that into, straight employment through us as a limited term position. On top of that, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to Becky yet, but this morning I had a call with Vital Strategies, who is willing to commit $100,000 for $100,000 of commitment of opioid spending, because that's the number we actually landed on in our budget and proposed that for the next number of years. I'm able to write for a grant, but what they want to focus in is on harm reduction strategies, which fits very well with what we're trying to do with MAT in the jail. So talk through that. We talk through some of the peer recovery pieces. So it's not nearly the same amount of money that we would have gotten through building bridges, but we may be able to move forward as we get going here. So just wanted to give that update that there's potential, and I know there's another very highly competitive opioid grant, which I have not had a chance to sit in the discussions on, that they're trying to figure out if we can potentially, thinking we're going to probably apply. I'm seeing nodding there. That one's highly competitive, where this Vital Strategies is pretty much, if we say all the right things, we should get that funding. The funding does go, I believe it has to be used by September of 2026. So we'll be able to kind of start that and move over. Apparently, they'll just have a letter that we just need to sign as a county that we do have that commitment to spend money. Their goal is to try to get counties to start using those opioid funds. Some counties haven't touched them yet. And part of it is some of the counties have such small amounts of money that they don't really, it's hard to do anything with it. So this is their boost to be able to move things forward. So all may not be lost on all fronts, as long as we kind of keep working on our braiding and blending of funding sources. Any questions? Okay, moving into community service updates. Don't see anything. Any outside committee updates? I don't think we usually have anything for here. Correspondence, reports, and future agenda items. Anything that we want to make sure we get put on here? We'll keep the MOU on, and we'll always have an executive committee update.
I was just going to say, yeah,
Yep.
that's exactly.
So that'll kind of become its own little line item as we move forward. Anything else?
I was just going to say the library is going to have an appreciation day on June 14th, Appreciation Day, with games, garage sale, raffle tickets, all that kind of stuff. Might be an opportunity for public. June 14th is the Library Appreciation Day, kind of like a big picnic type thing, and it might be opportunity if you guys wanted to put out tables or information, that kind of stuff. It would be.
Is it at the library or?
It's at the library, yes. Okay. It's going to be all day long, different things, yoga classes and games and just all kinds of different activities. So if you wanted to contact Ann, I don't know if it'd be something you'd be interested in. It sounds like all your vaping stuff is already accounted for, so you can't really do that. Maybe there's some other things that, just in terms of education or whatever, there should be a lot of people around, so.
Great, thank you for sharing. Anything further? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you.